Hello and welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and in this episode we're talking about Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, now available on 4K Ultra HD from Kino Lorber. Now this movie is 1956. It's early in the career of Stanley Kubrick, but it is a remarkable film. This is a stone-cold classic. It is a film noir classic. It's a crime movie classic. It's a heist movie. We meet our cast of characters, an ensemble cast led by Sterling Hayden, who a lot of people enter their knowledge of Sterling Hayden through The Godfather. And then you discover he had this incredible, rich career before that. Westerns, movies like this, film noir. Sterling Hayden leads this incredible ensemble cast. It's a heist movie where we see the planning of the heist, the execution of the heist, and then the aftermath. Essentially in real time. They do a little bit of playing with time to fit everybody in, like everyone who's involved with the scheme. What's revolutionary about this, and there's a lot of things that are revolutionary about it, from the way that Kubrick depicts sex and violence on screen in a time when you can't really show sex or violence on screen, 1956. The criminals of The Killing are not grizzled criminals. They're not made men. They're not the mafiosa. They are regular guys like you and me. And they have families, and they have jobs, and they have sick family members, and they have wives that they want a better relationship with. So when the opportunity comes along to perpetrate this heist, they want to rob a horse racing track with a score of potentially $2 million. And when this opportunity falls into their lap, you see how greed, but it's not just greed, it's human nature, right? That's the thing that makes film noir so relatable, why it's the most approachable probably of all genres, because film noir taps into the darkness of the human heart that we all have. Not that some of us have, but that we all have. And it is sympathetic. You as with most film noir stories, you want to see people succeed at bad things, despite yourself, because it's human nature, right? So The Killing, it's a wonderful movie, really well shot, photographed. We're going to talk about the video quality in just a second, but it's important to talk about the power of this movie. This is Kubrick emerging. See, this is 1956. 1 year earlier, he had directed Killer's Kiss, which is pretty much, let's call it his first movie. Again, he'd done shorts. It's complicated, but let's say this is his first movie, first big major feature film. Killer's Kiss, also just out on 4K Ultra HD from Kino Lorber, is an experimental film. It feels like a documentary, and he referred to it as sort of like a student film because he was learning on the set. They shot it guerrilla style, no permits, just jumping out, filming things, getting back in the car and taking off. They did a lot of things to just make it happen. It's that classic first movie story for a lot of people that just want to go out and make a movie. Kubrick was a very visual director. The way he framed things, the way he told the story, super visual. You see elements of that here, but 1 year later, that's what's amazing to me. 1 year later, he graduates from Killer's Kiss to The Killing, and it is the arrival of an auteur. And there's stories about the production of this movie where he is taking charge of everything. Every aspect of this movie goes through Kubrick first. And there's stories about Kubrick later in his career. He was not necessarily easy to work for. As Alan K. Rhodey says in his commentary here, to work with Kubrick, you had to be extremely dedicated and committed to that movie in a way that it wasn't just a job. You had to believe in it, and you had to be willing to bleed for that movie. That's all emerging here. And this is still Kubrick before it's 1956, right? So he hasn't done Spartacus yet. He hasn't done any of the huge, like Clockwork Orange is still in the future. 2001 is still in the future. This is a great look at the emergence. We get to see the evolution of Kubrick, and it's a remarkable evolution. So the influence of The Killing, it's everywhere. 60 plus years of influence of The Killing. Probably most notably is Reservoir Dogs from Quentin Tarantino, because his Reservoir Dogs is a heist movie where we see the beginning and we see the end and we don't see the actual heist. This, we do get to see the heist, but the influence is right there. It's not even hidden. It's right there. How does it look on 4K? It looks amazing. I was watching this, on my 4K setup, and I'm like, this looks like a 90s movie. I think about 90s black and white movies. I'm thinking about Schindler's List, Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man, that Johnny Depp movie that was shot in black and white. Because they were made in the 90s, photographic development techniques, the film stock, all that stuff's much more advanced than it was in the 50s or the 30s or the 40s, obviously. Those movies have a look. They have a very polished, very clean look. This now looks like that. I mean, I can't say that it looks brand new, but the restoration has taken decades of age. Not even necessarily dirt. It just looks so much clearer and more visceral. It's right there. They have given it an HDR. Well, first of all, it's from the restoration comes from the 4K scan is from the original camera negative, as was the case with Killer's Kiss. Now, that's great because you're going right to the source, and that's probably one of the reasons it looks so good. If you do a restoration from a print, it's limited, obviously. They went right to the source with the OCN, the original camera negative, and it looks... It's never looked so good, and it will never look better unless someone goes back in 10 years' time and does an 8K pass on it or something. This is now the definitive presentation of The Killing. But they did an HDR pass on this as well, so it does have HDR, Dolby Vision HDR. And sometimes people ask me, HDR for black and white movies. I get it, right? Because there's a video here where I was talking to JB about the Universal Monster movies on 4K. We were debating HDR. And sometimes I can see it and sometimes I can't. I saw it in Dracula where this is what made me a believer in HDR for black and white movies, is that there's a scene at the beginning of Dracula. That's Bela Lugosi's reveal. And he rises and the camera is moving towards him. And he's just black. And it's a great scene. But on 4K with the HDR pass, the blacks just swallow you. They are so deep. It is like you are moving into the night. And that's because of HDR. That added... See, there's no color. Well, black and white is color. It's monochrome, right? But there is no... the argument is like, well, there's not a lot of color. HDR really only works well for really colorful movies. I don't know. It made The Killing look incredible. And I can't speak for HDR for all black and white movies, but this one looks absolutely magnificent. The Blu-ray, the 4K disc presentation. So we've got the limited edition slipcover. I assume this is limited edition. I know Kino Lorber doesn't tend to keep these slipcovers in production forever. I don't know the number. 2000 perhaps. Don't quote me on that. Do your research. I don't know that they've actually said. But if you want the slipcover, come early, right? It has the commentary by Alan K. Rhodey and a theatrical trailer. Those are the only supplements. Let me show you the 4K case. I was going to call it the Blu-ray case, but the case itself. We have alternate artwork. This art is on the reverse side of this interior. There is no Blu-ray. It is just a 4K disc. So I know that I'm going to get questions about, Heath, should I replace my Criterion Collection edition? Because Criterion put both of these movies in one package. I can't spend other people's money. I won't, I can't, I won't. But I can tell you, I can give you the facts. I can give you my opinion. The movies have never looked better. These 4K restorations do make a huge difference. The scans for the Blu-rays that are in the Criterion edition are over a decade old. I think it was 2011 is when that package came out. And these, obviously you see the extra. We got the commentary by Alan K. Rhodey. We've got a commentary by Imogen Sarah Smith, who does great commentaries, by the way. That's pretty much it, is the movies and commentaries. So you have to make up your own mind, but for me, this is the definitive presentation of The Killing, and also for Killer's Kiss. They are visually much better. So that's what I've got to say about these movies. The Killing, if you haven't seen it, hopefully I have piqued your curiosity and you will be checking this out as soon as possible. Kubrick is... I have not always had the deep appreciation for Kubrick that I have now. I've kind of aged into it, and getting to see the evolution of the man who would become this auteur genius. The Shining, genius. The term that gets thrown around too much. But Kubrick, true genius, true auteur. He was a visionary. And I'm so grateful that we have his earlier works now preserved in the best possible format. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much. Take care. Until next time, I will catch you later.